Rip.
Yes, rip is the appropriate term for it.
Okay, it appears, I guess, we're back and refreshed.
Hey.
Little
Just
bit.
double checking.
Yeah, I think it's working.
Yeah, it's working for me now.
Same.
Okie doke. Apologies for that, chat. Technical difficulties, as are common in us trying to actually provide you with wonderful entertainment. The universe decides to say nope. But uh, you see, for the most part, that the halfling is kind of just very not uneasy around you, but just seems kind of flustered, and really, she seems to just have an overall feeling of like, I'm a little out of my element here.
You could just let us enter. After all, we do have important business here, otherwise, we wouldn't be coming to such a town.
You know, I don't think that kind of attitude is going to get you very far. If you don't mind me saying. But but right as she finishes saying it, there's kind of like an immediate like, oh god, I just said that shit. Welp. She kind of is hoping for like some salvation, is turning to the other three party members that are currently
Okay.
with you, and is sort of like a vibe of like help, not just help, help.
Okay, I step forward. I'm a fire ganassi, rather short, but 4'9". Hair is dark. Skin is dark brown. My hair is long white, pulled back into a braid, with the end of the braid like slowly morphing into flame. I'm wearing a long dark red shawl, clasped in the front with a large eye icon brooch, with dark red tunics underneath and a gold belt. Um, so I step forward and it's like, oh no, it's all right. So don't worry about us. Don't worry about them. We're not here to cause any harm.
Oh well, thank you. I'm not trying to give you too much trouble. It's just, I frankly didn't really want to be head of the watch for taking this shift to begin with, but you know, I've got to help my wife a little bit. It makes her job easier. Um, uh, welcome, all of y'all. I suppose if I. Oh right, manners.
Clearly.
She sort of like turns to the fire ganassi, who I don't recall if you've given your name at this point.
Oh, I had not. I'm sorry. My name is Aserla.
Sarlaf, pleasure. My name is Elena Milhand. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm glad someone's not trying to break me entirely already. But it's a pleasure to have some new folks coming into town. We're looking to have a festival real soon, and we're going to be having lots more of y'all coming in real soon. It's going to be quite a spectacular occasion, and we're going to have lots of people, lots of even mages coming in, and it's gonna be quite fantastic. I'm really hoping that the kids and all really enjoy all the festivities. But if you'd like a little bit of a show around town, my wife would be happy to help you if you'd like.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Yes. And
From behind the two speakers, another hobgoblin's going to step forward. My character's name is Baya, and it looks like he has sort of the same olive hue that Didi has, but it looks like it's been turned ruddy either by some form of sunburn or some form of other manner of skin color changing effect. And where Didi's covered with a hood, Baya's sort of keeping his head free of his clothing, even though his clothing, like his sister's, is very baggy. And protruding from his forehead, there are two tiefling like horns, indicating perhaps some sort of foray into the demonic. And he speaks up with sort of a mix of deference to the two that have already spoken, but also with a sort of harsh curiosity. I don't mean to pry, but You seem hesitant about letting us in. Did something happen recently, or is this just a new position for you?
It's very much a new position. I'm frankly more in charge, just keeping, occasional beast, and even sometimes a dire wolf coming into town. Sometimes you get stuff leaning over from the plains and such, but frankly, there's. I'm not assuming you're bringing any trouble whatsoever. I hope I haven't given off that impression. It's just a matter of I'm pretty easy to fluster, and like you can tell, like you don't even need to roll checks or anything like this. She's like if you all are coming in at like 100% capacity, she's already working at about 20-30% capacity in terms of how much this conversation's kind of made her, it looks like, kind of anxious and shy, and she's just sort of like, I'm happy to escort you to my wife. I promise that there's really no trouble at all um, with any of this. I'd be happy to she's like all flustered, and then you just hear her call out, Ophelia, Ophelia, we got some new folks who are coming in who'd like a little bit of a guide around town. And coming in, oh, sorry.
Oh, at this point, because I forgot to mention it, you see this crow perched on the hobgoblin's on Dee Dee's shoulder, and it just opens its mouth, and in sort of mimicry, in perfect sort of mimicry of Elena, you hear Ophelia, Ophelia. Not in a. It's not meant to. Sorry, when I say mimicry, it's sort of the raven mimicry. It's not meant to be like making fun of. It's just sort of like loudspeaker effect.
Yeah, she's definitely not taking it that way though.
So
dear.
during this whole time, the last of the party has been like standing back, like with her arms folded. And this is Bo, and she's pretty beefy herself. She has a wide shoulder span. Um, and she's actually not as tall as you might expect. For her bulk, she's only about 5'5". She's very busty, and she has like thighs like a runner, and long red hair that she kind of keeps in two loose braids that hang down the front of her shirt. And she was eyeing up the guard at the beginning, like, okay, and then looked a little disappointed when a wife was mentioned. But like now she's a bit impatient, like, why are we still standing out here? Let's get moving.
So as that happens, you hear coming a little bit over from just a little bit of the distance, very loudly, with sounds that you don't quite expect two little gnome feet to be making, as quickly and as with such intensity. You see what appears to be a shorter, still roughly about more in the range of like 3 feet, still taller maybe than like the average gnome, but shorter than Elena. An olive skin tone, kind of similarly tanned to Elena, rock gnome, who also appears to be wearing the same kind of basic tunic, doesn't have any sleeves, has a bunch of dirt smears around the edge of like her pant legs and everything, a basic set of trousers, and she has very choppy shoulder length hair. It kind of has the vibe of like, oh hey, can you cut this? And it's like, well, I don't know how to cut it. Yeah, sure, just go for here. That should be fine. Yeah, great. There, it's cut. It has kind of like that kind of vibe to it, and you just very excitedly hear this voice just sort of come on out, and just get this. You just hear this little rock gnome with a voice much bigger than you would expect it to be. Just go, oh, howdy, everybody. It's nice to see you. You all seem delightful. Lena, why'd you take so long? And oh my god. She's looking at Bo. You are gorgeous. We should have you over for dinner sometime. You just
Oh,
look
thank you.
wonderful.
I would love to be dinner sometime.
Oh, well, aren't you just a tease? Best be careful. I might take you up on that offer. And there's a little bit of like a wink in her eye in your direction, Bo. And
Mm-hmm.
Elena's just sort
Hmm.
of like very shyly like moseying over to her wife and is just sort of like, honey, town, they need a guide. And she's like, oh, when you mention it, I'll be happy to take him in. And she like goes, gives like a very quick peck to the cheek for Elena, and then this rock gnome just sort of like goes, grabs Bo's hand, so she kind of has to reach up a little bit, and she just starts trying to like scoot you all forward into the town. And you are off.
So as we follow, I'm going to fall back a bit. I'm going to say, Didi, enough with the holding in the secrets. What are we here for exactly? Why Avis? Why all these quaint little people in this quaint little festival?
Well, the biggest thing is that we should hide in plain sight. And if no one would ever think that we would, after running away the way we did, which, by the way, you still haven't thanked me for doing
Thank
so.
you, sister, for saving
You're
me,
welcome.
helping me get away. But why here? Why not further west?
Oh, we'll get there, but they would end up thinking that why would we go into this big festival where there's a big crowd where so many people can see us? But actually, this is the best place to hide because they wouldn't even think of it. They'd go to these little podunk little towns thinking we'd hide away, where there's no people or nothing. They wouldn't even think that we're supposed to, like, we would be here. So that's why we're here. And that's why I'm the smart one in the family.
I think if we stay, we might be losing our guard friend. And I sort of like nod to where Bo is being led by this little gnome.
Oh, she'll be fine.
Yep.
All right, I listen to you.
Yeah, Bo, you while they're talking in the back,
Mm-hmm.
Ophelia, this little rock gnome, is just sort of like looking up with you with like very like happy, gleeful expressions, and is also occasionally giving a look to Zerlath, and just sort of also giving a very happy like, oh, you're the cutest. Like your boat's just like absolutely adorable, and like occasionally like it slips out that she just keeps saying that at random, like, and you start losing track of who she's referring to over time. She's just very like open and fun, and she's just wonderful. She's just so full of pep and pop and everything. But as she leads you through this town, you're able to get a much more expansive view of Avis as she's walking in. It's a little bit of a walk into the full town. This is sort of like the eastern sort of entrance to it, but you see a rather humble sort of set of village and homes, sort of thatched kind of roofs, very much a lot of them in need of some level of repair, not shabby by any means, but very much reflecting a lot of the sort of farming home life that many of the folks who probably live here have. You see in the northern section vast fields of corn and crops being grown. You see other sections of field where areas are being tilled and taken care of. And you see as you're walking through corn and other crops, give me a break, being grown, that basically everywhere, this just feels like a place that's thriving. It's full of life. There's people who are happy and smiling at all of you. You see tieflings walking down the streets just sort of giving like a hello there. You see an occasional shifter who is there, who is just smiling back. As some of the one or two who happens to see Bo occasionally just does one of those kinds of looks, just as like, hey. And you see an occasional, just very rarely, I'd say, as a you see an occasional other Ganassi as well, who also gives you a very pleasant eye, and you see one or two folks who also have a similar, how should we call it, bookish zeal about them as well. And you see a bunch of little kids who are running around who look like they're like writing in notebooks and such, and just like, it's a very happy town. It feels a mixture of humble, quaint and good to live in and safe, and everything feels exquisite about it. Everything feels just wonderful. It's just calm, and there's just a sense that people are happy here, and that you kind of just even from walking along the streets, and Ophelia is just sort of occasionally pointing out, that's the blacksmith over there. That's the bar over there. We got an inn called Warrior's Jaunt over there. We got Warrior's Disgrace over there. It's a little bit more of a rowdy spot if you want to get into a little bit of fun. But there's crops are over there. If you want to go talk to some of the other locals, are over there. Oh, right, the temple. I almost forgot. I have to show you all a very important thing before I get you all to an inn. She sort of, and during all this time, she's kind of like trying to, like, one hand trying to pull Bo forward and the other one trying to pull as I laugh forward. It's like it's a little squat little gnome, and she's just like forcibly pushing you forward. And she points in the direction of a massive statue in front of a temple that near the top of the front entrance there's stained glass that forms an image as the sun reflects and hits through the light of two distinct figures. One is a feminine form, deep black skin, amber and warm amber tones to it, that just slowly it's sort of crowned around and framed by hair that forms a mixture of, it seems like almost like a crown made from a set of braids that then swings down and connects into the let me see, copper, silver, gold, electrum, platinum, 5 distinct separate braids that have colorations to them and little bits of sparkles to them that shine almost like they're, if not made, have been dusted with various kinds of currency of the, so you see like almost gold dust and silver dust sprayed along the statue. And well, this is on the statue. The image seems to show this figure in a more like 2D view, and there's a statue that shows the same exact sort of view and formed. And alongside the statue is another one, and also in the stained glass window, a secondary figure of a squatter form, deep brown skin, sort of cooler kind of undertones to it, a little bit more redness to the cheeks, a little bit rosier, massive smile, and almost like I don't know what they're called. I know it's like a lot of kids for like elementary school use them. They're the things that you get filled up with like fruits, turkeys, and other things during Thanksgiving. I forget what it is, but it's like almost sort of like a container. Yeah, cornucopia kind of thing. That's just filled up. That seems to be filled up with various kinds of just fruits and other things. And this second feminine figure is significantly squatter, but with the same kind of smile, and they're both in this picture sort of curved in this sort of direction, so they form sort of 2 complete halves to the whole stained glass image, but they're both smiling at each other, and you see rings on each of their fingers in the image. And for those of you who are interested, you may roll a religion check to determine who these figures are.
Like, definitely do that.
Yeah.
Do I get anything in particular from being part of a cult for this, or just normal roll?
I would say this is a little bit out of the terrain of cult-related,
Okay.
Cult-related religious matters. This would be more divinely inspired, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Also, what season is it as we're coming in? Like, judging from.
So, as you're coming in and seeing all of this, not Elena, Ophelia takes the time to mention, and yeah, we're having the Harvest Close Festival. It's coming in. We're gonna have folks coming in tomorrow morning. The winter's gonna be coming up soon, and this festival just happens to celebrate that the winter's going to be coming real soon. Crop harvest has been great. Everything has been going fantastic around here in Avis, and we're just happy to have more of y'all. It's just great to have visitors come in and just go to the Warriors, John. They'll take care of you. Tell them that Ophelia sent you. You'll get a little bit of a discount if you go. And as you do that, I would say Didi, Leta, and even Baya, you you know for a fact that these two images on the stained glass window and in the statues, they are, and Bo, you definitely know. You
Okay.
recognize these images as depictions of two goddesses, of the betrothed caretakers of halflings, the Lady of Luck and Change herself, Avandra, and the mother of halflings, Yondala. It was said in legend, from what you know, I'd say Bo and Didi know more of this than Aleta and Paya. It was said that the very life of halflings was said to have emerged from the joy that overflowed from the union of these two goddesses having come together. It was said that the tears of happiness that they shared upon the day that they swore to be with one another was said to have given life itself to halflings.
Yeah, I read something about this in my regional deities 201 class.
Faya can't help but hide a sneer. It emerges halfway, and then he catches himself a bit and turns away so nobody sees. He does look around at the fields of corn, and I'm assuming we're all in a clump, right? Like
Yeah,
following.
pretty much still clumped together. Ophelia's just sort of been giving you a quick little tour of this whole town, and it takes like maybe like 30, 45 minutes to go through all this process. Like, it's not a lengthy walk to get into town, but it's very much just, she's showing you around. She seems to be very happy that she gets to do this, and you hear from how excitedly she talks, you get the impression she's kind of the unofficial tour guide for anyone who comes in. So she's just happily leading you around and is taking you towards the direction of one of the inns.
Okay. Paya's gonna sort of tap Azerlath and say, "What is the purpose of all the fields of the gold bulbous things?
The gold bulbous things?
Like, you see how they have the little kernels and they have the leaves that cover it? What is that? I
It's
haven't seen that
food.
before.
That is, I believe, corn. If you leave it
That's
dry,
corn.
if you leave it dry enough, you can then buff it up and put some butter and salt on it and enjoy it.
Oh, I've only seen it on the table. Okay, so that's what it looks like naturally grown?
Yes.
Interesting.
As we're wandering around town, I'm sort of keeping trying to be alert to see if there's any cultists that we ran away from
So
or anything out of place.
So to be clear, are you looking for people in robes, or are you looking for folks who look kind of malevolent and doing one of these? Or
Specifically, if there's any sort of anyone who looks a lot like the cultists that we had pulled Haya out from, like whether there's like any sort of telltale looks or signs or robes or anything.
I would say to give you a sense of how good you were able to check for it, roll me just a perception check, just very basic perception,
Okay.
just to see how many details you notice. Okay, with that high of a roll, I will say that you get a very good sense. Like, occasionally you kind of tune out from Elena just sort of talking, because she's talking very fast, very just excitedly, and it's just, even for you who's used to hearing a lot of people talking and having to take in a lot of information, it's a lot. So it's just like, nope. You keep a good look around. You see, for the most part, a lot of the clothing that folks are wearing, it's very standard, like villager kind of wear. Basic tunics, a lot of overalls, a lot of occasional folks who are shirtless and such, who are just walking around and just kind of like have fully soaked shirts that are like, you can tell these folks have been working all day long or have been putting in hard labor. You see occasional folks who have burns on their hands, but they look just localized, so probably a blacksmith from what you can tell. But outside of
I
maybe
keep a good look on the blacksmith because that fire thing just.
the blacksmith, who is just a very like easy, happy-go-lucky dwarf, is just sort of like, hello. All right.
And the bird says, "Hello," and I don't say anything.
He's just kind of like has the look of like, I mean, I know it's rude to stare, but yeah, he, as far as you can tell, there is nothing here of any malevolent sort of nature. Nothing nothing catches your eye as standing out in particular. Everything just feels cozy, warm, humble,
I'm
quaint.
I'm going to interrupt Ophelia's sort of continuous, I guess, deluge of information about the town. Do you mind if I just take one of those corn stalks? Can I take one? I haven't seen them up close before. Where I come from, we don't grow this particular crop.
I get the impression you've never really been outside of the city, have you?
I don't know why you would say that. Just it's I haven't been much around. Sheltered childhood.
She
Yes,
sort of
he was a special one in our family.
she sort
Shut
of
up.
she sort of looks sympathetically at both Azalas and then to Bo, and then she sort of just leans in so Bo only you can hear her, and she says, "He's not a working type, is he?"
No, but I forgive him for that. He seems quite naive and sheltered. We all can't have a checkered past.
You're rather kind for watching out for him. He seems kind of hopeless.
I make desperate gestures toward the corn as this conversation continues.
She just does this little aside with Bo very quickly, and then she just goes, reaches forward to one of the crops, and she just hands you a stalk of corn.
Baya takes it and learns. Also, adding that to my inventory.
You have a stalk of corn you can add to your inventory. Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons, where earning corn is a significant achievement. But yeah, if you don't stop her, she eventually leads you over to a local inn.
Can I use prestidigitation to just heat up one corn and have it pop?
You can.
Sorry, one kernel and have it pop. So I do that and I say, see, this is pretty good if you can get some butter and salt.
Does it make like a popping noise?
It's a very audible noise. It's not subtle whatsoever. Like
I
you
think
kind of
Bo is gonna start when she hears the pop and look around and then realize the corn and be like, oh, okay.
I'll put it to you this way. It's loud enough that Ophelia literally jumps high enough off the ground and lands in your arms.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less of the raven and the popping of the corn, sister?
People seem a bit anxious here. Are you okay? Bo says to Ophelia as she puts her back down on the ground.
Sorry about that. I get a little bit startled by loud noises. A little bit of a bad habit. Yeah. But no, everyone's pretty relaxed for the most part. If there's any sort of energy or excitement about the place, it's more about the fact that the festival brings in a lot of people, brings in occasionally a lot of trouble, but it's a lot of activity. It's a lot to plan. Honestly, I'm a little bit worn down from trying to help with everything. It's more I'm tired versus anything to really worry about, because frankly nothing bad's ever really happened to Avis. We get occasional creatures coming from the plains, but we never really get anything too scary or what have you.
Wait, you don't have unseen help, and at this point you notice there's a chest just following with all of us?
I mean, frankly, most folks around here happen to understand the merit of a hard day's work using your own hands. And frankly, if you want to go talk to anyone about learning more stuff, you might want to go talk to Isba later. She might know a couple of that.
Who is Isba?
Well, she might be, let me see if I can remember the term. You just start seeing her pull out a couple of scrolls that seem to be just notes upon notes of untidy scrawlings. that you recognize are her writing, occasional misspellings, but Azalat, I can imagine with the eagerness that you pull in, you are able to see, given your passive perception is high enough, that there's various notes about different locales around Avis. There's various things around that, and then you see scrawled into like a tiny corner. Like imagine if like it's a high school assignment that like you're trying to get the last notes for an exam and trying to use only one piece of paper. It's that level of like cramped into something. You see the name Isba Delgroth, demonologist expert. Or rather, and then you see scratched out a word or two behind it. Local demonologist expert.
I believe there's no A in demonologist over there. You might want to fix that there.
If you don't mind me saying, kind of mix. You also might want to learn good manners as well. Good manners will get you farther than any sort of learning that you happen to have in that head of yours. Because I imagine you seem like the snooty type.
Pardon my sister, but what is your position in the festival, Ophelia? Since you mentioned, you've been organizing.
People need someone to walk them around, which means they need someone to give them information about everything and occasionally watch after the kids. There's a lot of kids in town.
So no titles, just the role for the good of the community?
Pretty much. You just kind of help out, and probably to the detriment of my own health, but frankly, it's what you do sometimes. Elena is taking really the harder job. She's fighting off creatures, and frankly, if she didn't have the power she did, she might be having more trouble, and I'd be worried a little bit more. But, it's what you do.
Are there really that many creatures here to fight off?
Oh no, just an occasional direwolf who comes in from the plains, or just an occasional like little beast who gets in. Nothing too frightening. It's just local troubles. Okay. Like I said, we're not really a dangerous town. We're really just cozy, and we like to have people here, and we like to take care of them as best we can.
I don't know. I feel like because you keep saying how non-dangerous you are, that maybe there's some possible subterfuge there, because I don't know why would you have to say so often how you're not dangerous?
Yes, that normally doesn't turn out well.
Yeah, I mean, either this town really is in the middle of nowhere, or perhaps there's more to what the eye can see.
This tour seems to be going in a weird direction. How about we go to the inn and get a room? Yeah, and we can sit down and talk, maybe, rather than walking around the town talking about how maybe the town is dangerous?
I agree, especially you
Sibling
two.
has sense. She just cuts you off. Like, she doesn't even let you get another word in deity. She's just like, pivots and just starts leading you into the front of just a very humble, it's a single basic story. Imagine sort of like kind of more let's say, for lack of better phrasing, countryish style, like Motel kind of 8s, where it's just sort of like one long sort of death. Yeah, it's sort of like a one central sort of little like front reception kind of area, and then there's just long extensions to this one single building of rooms on each side. It's all on one floor. And she says, yeah, just check in with her. Just tell her Ophelia sent you, and you should be fine. You should be doing okay with everything. Just check in and tell Amelia that Ophelia sent you. You'll be all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Yes,
warm
thank you.
welcome to your town.
Thank you for not assuming too poorly of my town. I've lived here for a lot of years. There's nothing dangerous beyond just...
This is just a totally safe town. No, nothing dangerous about it. Occasionally, a dire wolf comes by, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can handle Darwin.
Okay.
Out of character, I feel like several centuries down the line, their license plate is just going to be not that dangerous. So we have to
Not dangerous.
So we have to wait for this festival. I've
How?
never
When is? Go ahead.
I've never been to a festival like this before. I'm not sure if your idea of blending in is going to work. If commenting on corn is apparently enough to raise eyebrows. Really cool, by the way. And I hold up the corn, which I've been examining.
Yes,
And I
corn
press
is lovely.
a couple more kernels, like pop, 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 pop. I almost do it in like a tune.
I feel like you and I have different problems with impulse control.
This time, instead of jumping into Bo's arms, she jumps into Azalath's arms.
Ah. And I just quietly let her back down.
I have a question.
Yes.
At any point in this tour, was the Harvest Festival mentioned in terms of like, oh, it's tomorrow, or oh, it's like
It's tomorrow morning. It's
Tomorrow morning?
It's coming.
Okay.
It like you can see as you were going through the town that there is occasional like a tent or a couple of folks. You just overhear it in passing. Just a couple of folks just being like, "Oh yeah, it's looking like they're gonna actually have an illusionist coming in," or "Hey, that's great. The kids are gonna be able to go and wrestle some pigs this time. They're bringing in some big creatures to try and deal with." It's like you just hear talk like that. People are enjoying themselves. People don't seem particularly off-put. None of it particularly seems hostile or anything negative whatsoever. Everyone just seems relatively like at peace, and if there's excitement or high energy, it just seems to be a general buzz about the festival.
I'm also not sure if we can afford the expenses for the festival unless we find a source of some manner of making money soon. Right now, I'm running with the funds I left with.
I don't think we'll have too much trouble with that. I certainly have some money.
I also don't think things will be very expensive here. I mean, we're out of the city now.
All right, well,
Did you say you have
Still
some
stack.
money?
Yes, I have some money.
is this Amelia?
No, this is another voice behind you.
Oh,
Oh,
Because she's
Yeah.
left you in front of the inn, and coming from behind you from inside of the inn, you see another figure emerging from the door. You see someone with amethyst colored eyes, silver waist long blonde hair, with a sort of radiant, there's a almost sort of divine radiant glow about them. Very dark brown skin with sort of this time red and kind of goldish undertones with just little bits of like silver markings around the eyes. And very much a simple kind of little dress. It's a sort of a barmaid's out kind of outfit, a little apron, and looks like she has a really filthy cleaning rag. And she's just like, just coming through. She's like, well, it's a pleasure to see some new people in town. Are you looking for some rest?
a room at least.
Yes. And perhaps a hearty meal.
Oh, that can most assuredly be provided. You seem like the kind of woman who enjoys a fine meal.
Of course.
Do you do
And a
like
fine brew to go with it.
Oh, trust me, I will provide you as best I can. As you see her gesture very casually and very gracefully, there's almost a sort of like floating vibe to her movement. She's just very carefully moving through the air. Like she's still moving, like walking and what have you, but it's almost like gliding along the floor. And she gestures to sort of a little back sort of table where it looks as though the inn, while relatively shabby and not too upstanding overall in terms of quality, does appear to have like a sort of home style kitchen and little tavern attached to it.
Can I just get a room real quick and take the food to the room? It's just been a long day of traveling, and might retire early.
Oh, you are more than welcome to do that. And
How
don't
much
worry.
are the rooms?
Oh, you're new travelers. Don't worry. First night's on us.
Thank you.
And
That is very hospitable.
no problem. And turning to Paya's in Paya's direction, Paya, only you hear this. She says, and don't worry. There's a window in there for you. There's a mirror as well.
I cock my head and I nod. I'll be in the room. Sister, if you could keep a lookout for any of that type of person, just in case. I'd rather not spend the time too out in the open.
Are you certain you're going to be all right, sir? Is there anything that I can get you? And
Water and bread will do.
oh, don't worry. I promise you do it. We'll take care of you just right. And remember, don't get too attached to that face of yours.
I cock my head and I scurry away to the room.
I also cock my head and I follow
None
my...
of you hear this. No one but Baya hears this. It's only
Oh.
Baya hears this.
Okay.
You just
Oh,
see
wow.
her just sort of smiling happily, and she still has the same sort of cheerful expression she's had the entire time. Only
Wow.
Baya hears these sort of like
Okay.
little comments about a mirror and something about a face.
Whenever Bhaiya sort of goes up to his room, I follow as well. Unless Bhaiya sort of is like, nope, I want to be alone. I tend to room.
Not like that. I'm just heading off. I'm not trying
Yeah,
to.
I tend to room with him just sort of like so that I can keep my eyes and make sure.
Also, quick question, because it's only come to my attention now that I'm seeing this. Is Twitch still working for everyone else? Is it still coming through all the way?
Yeah.
Or have we frozen? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. It's just my screen. My computer is being my computer again. Ignore that. But, Dee, so you're not choosing to eat with the group? You're heading to check in on Baya first?
Yeah.
Okay. I will get to that in a second. Bo and Azerlath, if you choose to sit down, the figure who you're assuming based off of Ophelia's previous comment must be Amelia, is sort of just gliding back and forth between the kitchen, and you get the sense that while she has almost a very dainty, sort of delicate form, you see occasional burns along her hands, like she's occasionally had like dropped some things and like had that issue of like, oh, a random rice bit or something fell out
Oh
and like
yeah,
burned her
kitchen
arm.
burn.
Okay.
Like she has a lot of those along her arms, but she's relatively pleasant. She sort of cooks sort of home meal of like heavy potatoes, sort of. It's interesting. She happens to make a rather local dish of almost a thin sort of skirt steak that's been pounded down and breaded thoroughly, and she's managed to actually bake it a little bit and then fry it in sort of a pan that she's kept around. But as she does, and she does that, she brings it out. It's quite, if you take the time to sample it, it's quite tasty. It's quite hearty. It's topped with a couple of these fried eggs on top of a bed of rice as well. And she brings out a tankard that is, let's go with about that big in terms of size, somewhere around there. It's a pretty, we're talking like Oktoberfest style kind of tankard. She's like, I assumed you would be interested in rather copious amounts of drink.
Yes. But is anybody else drinking? Like she's ready to just take the tankard for herself and drink from it.
No, that's all right. It's all yours.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So yeah, Bo like takes a hearty swig and nods as if it tasted, good enough for her.
It has a almost like, it starts off a kind of sweet, almost, it's strange, it has like almost notes of like a peachy kind of liquid, a peachy sort of after beginning sweetness taste to it, and then it just sort of fades into more of a hopsy kind of taste after a while. It sort of has a strong intense taste with the sweetness, but then it just burns off ever so carefully into just this nice mellow kind of buzz providing drink.
Okay.
And yeah, you're welcome to speak with Amelia about anything around the town and ask her any questions. Before I get into that, I will switch back over to Baya and Didi. Baya, Didi, you have the room. There's just a simple bed with a circular table, not very wide, maybe 5 feet radius around, maybe 5 feet diameter actually. There's a simple sort of chair, just wooden, single back to it, just four back posts to it, and 4 points to sit down on. The covers are comfortable. They're relatively scratchy, a little itchy, but they're better than some of the things that you've had to deal with while on the road. And there's a basin to wash your face and clean off a little bit.
I walk in and I'm gonna just shirk off the really baggy sort of baggy clothing that I wear, and it becomes pretty evident what that's for as I immediately nail the corners of the baggy, raggedy clothing against the window so that it's completely covered. I turn and say, I can't do this. I don't know that we should stay here. I mean, it's a strange town. It's strange people. I've never seen this sort of place before. And the festival, how am I supposed to blend in?
At this point, as the door closes and you sort of board up, you cover the window, you notice the sort of like really straight shoulders and the air of like snootiness just drops. And they go up to Bhaiya and sort of hold them by the shoulders and say, it'll be okay, but you have to trust me that when we do these things, I know how to keep you safe.
I don't
And-
even think they have titles here. Like, your school at least has like professors, and I had, my superiors to listen to. They have people that are just nice, helpful. I don't know how to deal with that. And it's clear that they realize I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not blending in, Dee Dee.
I'm afraid you won't blend in for a while until you shrug off being the chosen one.
I don't know that I can shrug that off. I still hear him. He's still in my head.
Wait, you still hear him? What is he saying?
I don't know. Look in the mirror, there's a window, things like that. Reflections.
I take my cloak off and cover the mirror.
Oh, is there a mirror in the room as well?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, if there's a mirror.
You're just hearing you just heard the phrase.
It's just the window, and it's...
Nothing out the window either.
I'd rather just stay in the room for the festival, if that's okay. Like, you can enjoy yourself, you can blend in, you can be a mage in a small town, and they understand that. But for me, everything's still so new. I want to be in a place where having everything be new is okay, and this is not that place. Look, what are we trying to do? Are we staying in the country?
We're gonna stay here for as long as we need to throw the trail off. We enjoy this festival and what it has to offer, because when we go on the road again, we may not have as good food, as good place, as good everything. We might not even have our allies. The only thing I've learned, especially after our messed up parents, is that the only people we can count on is ourselves. Remember that.
We might want to tell Azerlath and Bo anyway. They're going to figure it out soon.
When we can trust them.
Okay.
They help us blend in.
And I hurt us from blending in. I'm gonna head to sleep and see if things make more sense when I wake up. Wake me up if something happens. And he's just gonna belly flop onto a bunk.
Yeah, it's basically a single bed, but it's comfy, and you don't hear anything else.
I sort of tuck him in and I go downstairs.
As you go downstairs, you're hearing a very room-filling kind of laugh coming from Amelia. She just seems to be delighting in Azerlath and Bo's presence. If you've asked her anything, or if there's anything, a DM speaking to players, that you wanted to ask about the town to Amelia, she is more than happy to answer it. She just seems like everyone else in the town, incredibly friendly and open-minded, and she seems to be used to people who are kind of out of their element coming in and just traveling.
I think Azerlath is a little tired from the road, so is not as inquisitive as usual.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Bo is actually in like a really talkative mood. Like she would definitely be applying most of her attention to eating and drinking.
And she just keeps bringing you out plates of food. She just seems like she's it seems as though you get the vibe from just talking with her just a little bit. Like she hasn't had like new company in a while, so she's just kind of missed like everything about having more company. It seems like new folks being in town just bring her a sense of like it's a little bit different from the usual, and it's kind of nice to have that. And she's just very happy, very easygoing, just talking with everyone who's there.
I also leave my raven in the room, and I sort of instruct the raven to watch over Baya and to alert me as soon as anything happens.
All right. But yeah, you come down, and there's extra plate of food there if you would like to indulge in it. And if you do nothing else and don't even talk to her or ask her really any major questions, she will show you each to your rooms, and you can have a pleasant night's rest without any incident.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just one quick thing though, before I forget. I'm uncertain if chat is able to hear this or the players are able to hear this currently, but as I'm putting on music for folks to listen to. Bye.
What's up?
You fall asleep and you dream. Nothing in particular at first, but you find yourself waking up all of a sudden. Not startled, not too bothered or anything, but just suddenly like everything around your face just feels all too hot. Like there's a sensation of like having to like just cool off for a second.
I am now startled and bothered.
Is my raven there?
No,
Okay.
your raven doesn't see anything in particular. Aya, you find yourself compelled to walk over to the basin, and you just take a little bit of time just splashing your face, and it cools your face down immediately.
Alright.
And as that happens, you start hearing from behind you ever so faintly. Dun, 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 you hear
I sort of just freeze what I'm doing without turning around.
you hear a rather feminine toned voice, a rather higher pitched voice, just sort of speaking, just chanting, humming a little tune, just very carefully, just very easily. Dun, 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 dun. And then it switches to another voice. Dun, 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 dun.
Do I recognize any of these voices in particular?
Oh, you do. They're all very familiar. You've heard all of these voices before, because it's not just the one feminine voice, the high-pitched voice, it's not just the deeper voice. You hear tens, dozens, hundreds of voices over the span of 30 seconds, a minute, an hour, 2 hours. Over the span, you just hear several voices just...
Is this perceived time or is this actual time? Like,
Perceived
does the
time.
Raven interact with this at all? Or is
Perceived
this-
time. The Raven does not see anything. The Raven just sees you passed out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What you are experiencing is very different from what anyone else would be able to see happening in the room. What you are experiencing is yourself. You are feeling yourself and seeing yourself moving towards the base and seeing this, like splashing your face. hearing all of this noise behind you. And you just hear a voice call out to you. Almost, not quite flirtatiously, but with an element of almost like coyful playfulness. Did you really think you were going to get away from me? Did you really think?
I need time alone right now. It's not the best time for this.
You need time alone, but what about me?
You've got the voices, you've got the faces. It's not good for either of us if I act out right now.
Oh no, and I'm not expecting you to. But I just want you to remember I'm here. I'm keeping you company.
I find it very hard to forget.
Are you sure? You seem to be thinking about little insignificant things like corn or escape. Such small things. Aren't you delightful? So
You want to
arrogant.
escape too, don't you? From your own place?
Oh, I
You want to
do.
come here.
I do. I'll make my way here, whatever means I need. But in the meantime, I can enjoy myself.
Then don't call my things insignificant.
They're insignificant to me.
Everything's insignificant to you.
Oh.
Go away! Get out of my head!
I'm not just in your head, silly. I'm never just always in your head. And as you turn to look down at the basin again, you see a figure. It's strange. It's almost like your own features, but there's almost mats of like deep blood red fur that seem to be making a very beautiful, almost porcelain face. It's like a mixture of just various feminine, masculine, androgynous, and feral animalistic qualities to the face. You see your own and this is the face you see reflecting back at you. And the moment you go to touch it, it feels like it's your face.
Why do you keep doing this? This thing with my face? Do you think eventually I will be affected by it?
It's entertaining, at the very least.
Insignificant, he says. What do you want?
Why would I tell you?
I remember you're here. Will you go away now?
So terrible. So rude. I'll leave you be. Enjoy yourself, Baya. Don't forget who you are me. I'll come back for your face soon. So lovely.
I'm gonna flop into the bed in like whatever this sequence of events is, whether it's a dream sequence or like an out-of-body thing, or try to. And I'm gonna do the thing where I just like clamp a pillow over my head.
You do, and you successfully, as you clamp the pillow over your head, it just... You stop hearing the voices, you take a look at the basin again, and your face is perfectly fine, and you put the pillow down if you're able to. If you take the time and put the pillow down, everything's fine.
I know you're there, monkey. For better or for worse, we're in this for the long haul. Just leave me alone for a bit.
Well, I'll be back later. I have to entertain myself somehow.
Pillow.
You feel a hand lift the pillow up above your head, and the last image you see before you wake up in a very deep, cold sweat is a garden all around you,